Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. This is Danny Barker with eXp Realty. I'm out here in San Diego, but I run a nationwide network of well-performing realtors. So specifically my niche is to help veterans plan their real estate portfolios, mostly using the VA loan to secure the properties, but then making plans on how to keep them and build wealth for that generational wealth. So today's topic is two-pronged. One, I'm going to start with what we're working on right this minute. So we have a buyer that their pre-approval is tapped out at $250,000. They like a 2-on-1 that could be selling for the low threes, but at this moment in this market, they're at around $280,000. So they put in an offer for $250,000 with 4% back. They, as in my network agent and the buyer. And yesterday I had a call with the lender and the buyer and the network agent, and we realized, wait a minute, we have this car payment. It's about $10,000 owed, $380 a month. Well, that $380 a month unlocks about $50,000 worth of buying power. So what we really need is for a $10,000 payoff to happen so that the pre-approval can go up to $300,000. So if we know that the sellers are willing to sell right now at $280,000, even though, in the past they could have sold it for more, they need to move on. So let's get them moved on. And what I'm proposing here is if the appraiser and everybody agrees at $300,000, then what we can do is we can say, hey, we'll buy the property for $300,000 and you can pay off the $10,000 loan and then put 4%, which is $12,000, to the buyer's closing costs. So in this situation, 0 down, 0 closing costs, and a $10,000 car payment paid off. And you get the house. And this property is actually 2 houses on one. So it's a really good find. It's a really good deal. We don't want it to slip away. And we are waiting for that seller to respond to the original $250,000 with 4% back, which effectively to that seller is $240,000. So once that seller responds to us, let's say that they go to $290,000 with 4% back. Well, that shows us that they really do want that $280,000 mark. But what if they respond to us instead of the $250,000 with 4% back, they say, oh, we can do $270,000 with 4% back. Well, in that scenario, we still need the car paid off. So what we'll do is we'll increase the offer to $280,000 to cover that $10,000 on that car payment. And then the 4% will come out and their total proceeds to the seller will be about what they tell us, what they're about to tell us they want it to be at, right? So that's lesson number 1, right? Lesson number 2 is it's really kind of difficult to explain, but I want you to stick with me on this one. So this news is late. The expiration of this deal was June 30th, right? And the deal was that UWM, United Wholesale Mortgage, is one of the vendors that mortgage brokers can go to. They are doing a 1-0 buydown. First, let me explain what a buydown is. A buydown means that the bank is going to take money and they're going to set it aside in an account that they're going to subsidize your monthly payment with that money. When that money dries up in 12 months, you'll be responsible for the whole payment. So I'm not a big fan of these because it makes a property feel more affordable than it really is, right? So in order to be true to my ethos, I have to make sure that everybody understands if you take a 6% mortgage with a 1-0 buydown, it feels like 5%, but you need to really, really make sure that you can afford the entire 6%. So if we're going to do something like this, we have to have a very thorough discussion. You can find DannyBarkerRealtor.com, where you can share your information. I'll be in contact with you. and then we'll put you on my schedule and we'll have a Zoom call. And then I can make sure that you're also working with well-performing realtor and lender in your market. So when we look at this 1-0 buy down, we're looking at it in the last few weeks, that UWM is kind of making a bet here. They're betting that interest rates are going to come down. Now, we've all been hearing that the interest rates were going to come down. We've all been told that it was Jerome Powell. Well, Jerome Powell was replaced by Walsh just in May. So he's had a month and a half. He's had 2 times where he's come out and said, nope, we're keeping the interest rates exactly where they're at. So what happened to all of this downward motion? Well, UWM, they do billions of dollars worth of business. I don't do billions of dollars worth of business, so I'm going to believe them when they say, we're going to pay for a 1-0 buy down. Why would they do that? They would do that to incentivize go out and buy now, because their books, their quarter, their year needs business now. So they're going to incentivize doing business now. And then they're not worried about you getting comfortable with a 5% mortgage payment. Sorry, the dog's leash got tangled up on all the beautiful hedges and stuff. All right, so back to the story. So we got UWM. They're incentivizing a 1-0 buy down. Now, in order to really truthfully communicate like the real value and the real power of this move, you have to also understand something that's called lender credits. That's right, lender credits. Credits from your lender that can go to your closing costs, right? So if we took when for the members that we did do it for, when we took that 1-0 buy down, instead of getting today's interest rate 5.75, 5.5, and making it feel like 4.75, 4.5, we thought, wait, we know that everybody's holding the interest rates where they're at. We are very confident that an upward movement in interest rates is very unlikely because everybody's pushing for a downward and they're holding it where they are. So nobody's talking about upward movement, right? Inflation would call for upward movement, but nobody's talking about it. So the people that are making the decisions are on the fence, as on the side of the fence of, we're not even going to explore the increasing of interest rates. Why is that? Unemployment will go through the roof. However, leaving that alone, let's talk about what is relevant to us, because world politics are world politics. They're not our personal politics. So how can we use the current state of affairs to get the best deal that we can possibly get for ourselves and our families, right? So the key here is that we're going to take the 1-0 buy down, but just like you can pay points to get a lower interest rate for your mortgage, you can also take a higher interest rate willfully, and the lender will pay you to take that higher interest rate. When I bought my house in Guam, I took a 4.0% interest rate instead of a 3.5% interest rate, and that afforded me to buy the house in Guam with $0 down and $311 out of pocket for my closing costs, because they covered the rest because of that credit. Now hold on, I gotta pick up what my dog's dropped. I'll be right back with you. All right, welcome to back. So I thought you might want to see these little mutts here. We got a Shih Tzu and a Boston Terrier, and yes, my Boston Terrier looks like a Frenchie because my daughter said, hey Dad, did you know that Boston Terriers also are born brown? And I said, what? Let's go get one of those. Now everybody thinks I have a Frenchie, but without all the health problems. All right, so back to the story. If we can do a buy down where from the lender for free because they're incentivizing doing business now, then we can take a 6.75, a 7% interest rate that feels like 5.75 or 6%, which is the going rate right now with no points, no credits. So now we're going to take that 7% interest rate. We'll just call it 7 and 6. We'll take the 7% interest rate instead of the 6% interest rate. That gives us thousands of dollars to apply to our closing costs. Now we can also negotiate credits from the sellers. That's them taking proceeds and instead of enjoying it, pushing it back to you to incentivize you buying their house instead of another house, right? So now we're taking all of these things that all of these people are motivated for, and we're pointing all of the benefit to us. Now you say, but hey, after a year, I'm going to be having to pay a payment based on 7% instead of 6%. And I say, yes. Now here's the beautiful part. When you use a VA loan, you can do a VA IRRRL. IRRRL is IRRRL, Interest Rate Reduction Refinance Loan. So when we do the VA IRRRL, when are we allowed to do the VA IRRRL? 210 days after we close on our original purchase. Why? We have to make 6 payments to ratify the loan that they gave us in the first place. So when we have those 6 payments made and the 210 days has passed, we can do an IRRRL. So you're saying, hey man, this is a bet. And I say, yeah, what we're betting on is that the interest rates either stay at 6% or go down. Now all of the pressure is on going down. All of the action has been letting it stay. Nobody's talking about, and nobody is thinking that they need to increase interest rates, right? So if we know that it's very unlikely that they're going to increase interest rates, and we know that we can afford the house at 7%, then we can take the 7% interest rate, get paid by the lender. It feels like 6%. And then we take all of that money that they paid us to take the 7%, and we pay the closing costs, just like I did in Guam, right? So here's the thing. I don't mean to tell you in depth on a maneuver that is now expired, because it was only available till June 30th. What I'm telling you this for is that if you were already working with me, if you were already working with our team, then you would already know these things, and you'd already be doing those things, right? So get on the phone, get on the internet, call me, 760-497-9964. You call me at 760-497-9964, or you go to DannyBarkerRealtor.com and you give me your information and you enter into our community, and we will work together to get you the best deal, structured in the best way possible to build wealth for you and your future family. All right, guys, I'm signing off. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.